last 72 hours have been absolutely crazy for crypto, with some of the most bullish announcements ever being made over the past 48 hours, most of which have to do with the fact that everybody wants to get a cut of the total Bitcoin supply. Or in different terms, all these different senators and different politicians are all playing the game of being bullish on Bitcoin, and it's working. Even though price-wise, it's not really having a good effect. Matter of fact, we might even now say that the whole Trump situation at the Bitcoin conference was a buy the rumor, sell the news effect, because the price went to 69,000, and once he started speaking, it went back to 67, I believe. But on the contrary, and this is such an important piece, we all know that Donald Trump's recent donations have been pretty massive, leading him to be quite biased, to be positive towards crypto. But some of the things which he stated are just so much crazier than I could have anticipated. Let's take a little bit of a look. But before we do that, make sure you go ahead and press that like button on the video right now, and let's dive in. For context, this is Trump yesterday at the Nashville Bitcoin conference.
The United States government is among the largest holders of Bitcoin. Does anyone know that? How about that? The federal government is almost 210,000 Bitcoin, or 1% of the total supply that will ever exist. But for too long, our government has violated the cardinal rule that every Bitcoiner knows by heart: never sell your Bitcoin, right? That's right, isn't it, huh? That's right. How did I figure that one? Never sell your Bitcoin. And so, as the final part of my plan today, I am announcing that if I am elected, it will be the policy of my administration, United States of America, to keep 100% of all the Bitcoin the U.S. government currently holds or acquires into the future. We'll keep 100%. I hope you do well, please. This will serve in effect as the core of the strategic national Bitcoin stockpile. As you know.
But there's also a little bit more, because this was already extremely bullish on its own. Any single person that watched that video is like, damn. Even though he didn't say anything too crazy, he said, oh, nobody should ever sell their Bitcoin, and the U.S. will keep holding it in a strategic reserve. It's not that crazy of a statement, but I guess it's mostly because he's the one saying it, and it's the narrative shift that's happening. If he were to just say, hey, you know what, the U.S. Maybe shouldn't sell all their Bitcoin just randomly somewhere, I don't think it would have been that big a deal. But the fact he came to the Bitcoin conference and is right now saying, hey, man, nobody should be selling it yet. I know it's mostly a spiel. This man here is a master manipulator in the sense of he talks. And I know that. But when he talks, obviously, being the ex-president, a lot of people do listen. And if he's being so progressive towards it, other people pick it up and start acting the same. It's just common sense.
Think of that. It's already bigger than ExxonMobil. Soon it will be surpassing the entire market cap of silver. It's not bad. How about gold? How about gold? Let's go gold. And one day it probably will overtake gold, but based on the way it's going now, it could very well be a possibility. There's never been anything like it, and I don't think you've ever seen anything like it. And most people have no idea what the hell it is. You know that, right? So what happens when they figure it out? That's going to really be something. Bitcoin is not...
And to stay on topic with all that, U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis officially introduced a bill to create a Bitcoin strategic reserve and purchase 1 million Bitcoin worth $68 billion. Times are changing, man. They really are. And if you want to recap from Trump's speech, here it goes, right? On day one, he will fire Gary Gensler, which was, by the way, one of the highlights of his entire speech. He says, day one, he gets into office, Gary Gensler, out! Back to your cage, back to wherever you came from. I don't know, but he's out, and I think that that's his best statement thus far, and I guess in total. Create a U.S. government strategic national Bitcoin stockpile. But again, that one I'm mediocre of, because I'm thinking they can still sell it every time or anytime. A stockpile, what does that mean? How long does that stand? Then again, he did say that they will keep 100% of the Bitcoin they own for a while. Bitcoin, again, is going to the moon. You should never sell your Bitcoin. Bitcoin one day probably surpass gold. He reaffirms his pledge to commute Ross Ulbricht's sentence. There will never be a CBDC while he is president of the US. Bitcoin and crypto will skyrocket like never before if elected president. Bitcoin is not threatening the dollar. The current US government is threatening the dollar. The US will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world. And Bitcoin stands for freedom, sovereignty, and independence from government coercion and control. And he pledges to the Bitcoin community that the day he takes oath in office, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's anti-crypto crusade will be over. And it's kind of funny how Bitcoin's price, like I just told you, went down ever so slightly. But that's what I believe to be this buy the rumors, sell the news, but also the kind of traps and inverse correlations we're seeing to bullish news recently. And it makes me realize the most important thing, which is just buy the freaking dip. I mean, everything that was said here at the Bitcoin conference, we kind of already knew, right? I mean, even if you are just not thinking about it too much, if you think about the future, we all know Bitcoin is probably going to millions of dollars over a while. But it's not that many people that are like going for the Warren Buffett-esque strategy of think about 20 years into the future, because Bitcoin is so new, it hasn't even been around for 20 years. But I always like to relate back to an early stock market. If you could get back into your own body, I'm gonna say, yeah, this is kind of difficult because of world wars, but I wanted to say like let's say 1955, all right? The US stock market's still pretty young. If you just went crazy on it and thought, hey, where would this be at over the next 40 years? You'd be like, well, it's really hard to deduce. Will it even still be around? I know it's vastly different because those are real equities. There are income producing assets, perhaps, etc., etc. I'm just talking about if you were in that body, you might also think, can we keep on speculating about prices like we're doing right now? There will probably be a different system. It will probably all be different. The government will probably start owning everything. There will probably be another war, whatever. It's very hard to think 40 years, 20 years into the future when it comes to anything. And if you really start doing that, indeed, it does not become that crazy to think about a $10 million or whatever Bitcoin. The question might also be, how much is $1 worth at that time? And I always put that up. Being a dollar valuation is not important if the reserve currency, the main currency everything is denominated in, is not the dollar no more, and the dollar has devalued. Again, when taking a look at previous wars, you all know how that goes. Anyway, I could go through all these, but nothing was too crazy that we have not covered yet. It's mostly just all of them stating the most exciting announcements they can around Bitcoin, saying, hey, we're going to hold 1 million Bitcoin, or 4 million Bitcoin even. Bitcoin going to millions of dollars. All different Trump announcements of this, that. We just went over all of it. And again, I am personally really excited about it all. Because just imagine, right? 550 Bitcoin being bought by the US a day. A day. And even BlackRock's announcement. Actually, matter of fact, let's take a little bit of a look at this one.
It's been quite remarkable the degree to which these ETF holders so far have been of a very long-term buy and hold nature, right? If you think about since January, there have been some pretty big pullbacks in Bitcoin. IBIT has had 1 day of negative flows in 6.5 months, right? And in fact, on a lot of the down days, we've seen net buying where our investor base is so-called buying the dip. Of course, that'll change over time. I'm sure we'll see in the second half or, in the years to come, we'll see lots more negative flow days. That's just natural, right? But pretty striking how consistent and long-term the investor base has been.
And indeed, that's because many still think, you know what, it's starting to pick up the pace right now. All these politicians are starting to talk about it, but it's not been oversaturated yet. I think we're another 2 years or so in before it's really popular everywhere. Like Trump said a bit earlier just now, most people still don't know anything about Bitcoin. You might say, Dusty, most people know about Bitcoin. Nope. Most people still very much dislike Bitcoin. If you think most people like cryptocurrencies, you're living in a bubble, my friend. Just for fun, I really recommend you to look up anything like in terms of a finance channel talking about Bitcoin. You know why? Because every single time my videos do not get into the proper crypto algorithm, but end up on any Like, out of the 1 million people that usually might circulate through my content, it's mostly dislikes, people saying it's a scam, people saying you should not buy Bitcoin, you should stay away. And actually, a lot of my finance friends that are not into crypto at all, they still think, oh, you still with that? You still think it'll do okay? Oh, it's done pretty well recently, right? People still don't believe in the idea, et cetera, et cetera. But again, people like Trump and all these setting such a hard precedent. I know it will not change everything, but it might change the pace a little bit. It might change the narrative a little bit. And then now, from that basis, with BlackRock as a backer, over the next few years, as most of these guys also have this longer term vision, and they also think about these multiple $1 million price tags in the future, man, I get so bullish. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, that's about it for this video. Just wanted to get you guys an update on whatever happened at the Bitcoin conference, and that's it.